Hey friends, happy Sunday morning. It is going to be a beautiful, beautiful day. Hey guys, I just wanted to share something that was on my heart this morning, something that I hope blesses you as much as it did me. In my Bible study this morning, I'm still continuing on in John 18. Highly encourage you to read it. It's an absolute gem. But leading up to this, starting in verse 15, we have where Peter denies Jesus 3 times. Now, previous to this, if you recall, Jesus was talking to the disciples and he warned them. He said, you guys are going to scatter. And at this, Peter emphatically said, you know, Jesus, if they all fall away, I won't. I will not fall away. And at that, Jesus looked at Peter and he said, before the rooster crows, you will have denied me 3 times. Now, in verse 18, this is where it gets good. Now, previous to this verse, Peter had just denied Jesus for the first time, but it said that it was cold, and the officials and the servants were standing around a fire that they had made to keep themselves warm. And it said that Peter stood there with them. Peter stood there with the ones that were crucifying Jesus. This was Peter's mistake because he embraced the comforts of this world rather than being uncomfortable and doing what he should have been doing, which was praying for Jesus or being a witness to who Jesus was. But anyway, we go on and it says, meanwhile, Jesus was being questioned and that he was bound and he was taken away to Caphaeus. And here we get to verse 25. And it says, meanwhile, while all this was happening to Jesus, it says that Peter was still warming himself by the fire. And because he was still warming himself by the fire, the story tells us that he denied Jesus 2 more times, and at that, the rooster crowed. Now, guys, I really got to thinking about this morning because, you know, as we're getting into these colder temperatures, you know, I know a lot of runners, no fault of theirs, that definitely prefer the treadmill to getting out here because, you know, running in itself is a hard thing to do, but, you know, facing the cold is a whole nother thing. And you have to be, in order to embrace it and run year round, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's this mindset shift, right? It's when you look at what it's doing for you, whether, you know, you have a goal of training for a race, you know that you have to get out here and do this. And this is in 2 Corinthians 4:17. This is kind of what Paul alluded to. And I just love this because in order for us to get through this cold world and to remember that we are supposed to be set apart, we cannot comfort ourselves with the things of this world, with possessions, with people. We are supposed to be so set apart that we are to be a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to the Lord. If we are true followers of Jesus Christ, we cannot follow the narratives of this world to fit in, to warm ourselves. We have to be so set apart that we risk being harassed, persecution, whatever it may be, by keeping our eyes on the eternal glory, on what it's doing. This is what Paul was alluding to. And let me remind you, Paul was shipwrecked, flogged, beaten, persecuted, thrown outside of the city one time and left for dead. I mean, Paul, second to Jesus Christ and probably Job, endured so much suffering, but he said that this is what he called him. He said, for these light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. He was saying no matter what we have to go in this world, when we look back, we'll see that they didn't last very long and they really weren't as bad as we thought they were in light of the eternity that we will spend with Jesus Christ. Because let me remind you, even if you live to be 80, 90, 100 years old, we are but a vapor here today and gone tomorrow in light of all eternity. That's why to get through this world and to stand faithful, we have to, especially in these times as this world gets colder and colder, in order to lead people to the foot of the cross, we've got to keep our eyes on Jesus Christ, the one who set us the example, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him scorned, despised the shame of the cross, and now sits at the right hand of God the Father. He showed us a perfect example of how short-term sacrifice equals long-term gain. Friends, this life and everything in it is passing away, and one day it will be a vapor. And if we stand firm right now, we will inherit eternal glory. We will spend eternity with Jesus Christ. So be comfortable with being uncomfortable, especially as we go into these colder and darker days that are ahead of us. Stand firm on the truths laid out in the Bible, unwilling to compromise. So guys, I really, really hope that blesses you. I'm going to finish up my run, and get off to church. It's going to be a great day.